Good morning, students. In this lecture, we will talk about anatomy and physiology of paranasal sinuses. Paranasal sinuses are air-filled extension of nasal cavity. They are air-filled bony expansion situated in the different bones of nasal cavity and covered by nasal mucosal membrane. There are four paired sinuses which are situated right and left both side, named according to the bone in which they are located. Maxillary sinus situated in maxilla bone, frontal sinus situated in frontal bone, sphenoid sinus situated in sphenoid bone, and ethmoid sinus situated in ethmoidal bone. Each sinus is lined by a ciliated pseudocertified epithelium interspersed with mucus secreting globulate cells. In this diagram you can see the all four sinuses. These sinuses are maxillary sinus situated in the maxilla. These are the frontal sinus situated in the frontal bone. This purple color sinuses, which are multiple in number and small, are ethmoidal sinuses, and the most posterior sinus is sphenoid sinus situated in the sphenoid bone. So frontal sinus is the most superior and maxilla is the most inferior. Maxillary sinus is the most inferior sinus in nasal cavity. Sinuses are usually divided into two groups: anterior sinuses and posterior sinuses. Anterior sinuses are frontal sinus, maxillary sinus, and anterior ethmoidal sinuses. Ethmoidal sinuses are divided into two parts: anterior ethmoids and posterior ethmoids. Posterior group of sinuses contain sphenoid sinus and posterior part of ethmoid sinuses. This is a radiographic diagram of paranasal sinuses in which in transverse cut, this cut is transverse cut of paranasal sinuses, in which you can see the multiple bluish color filled, violet color filled cavity, and those are suggestive of multiple ethmoidal sinuses in nasal cavity. The green colored filled sinus is sphenoid sinus. This is the right sphenoid sinus and this is the left sphenoid sinus, and you can see one intervening septum in between them. So sphenoid are the most posterior sinuses in nasal cavity. Now maxillary sinus, that is also known as antrum of Highmore. It is largest and occupies the body of maxilla. We have already talked about that. It is pyramidal in shape and capacity is 15 ml in adult. Here you can see that the shape of the maxillary sinus is pyramid. This is the most inferior sinus in nasal cavity. Base is lateral wall of nasal cavity and apex is directed towards the zygomatic process of maxilla. So here this is the base of the maxillary sinus and this is the apex. So here is the zygomatic process. So apex is towards the zygomatic process and base is towards the lateral wall of nose. This is the lateral wall of nose. This is the midline septum. So this is base and this is the apex of the maxillary sinus. Four walls of maxillary sinus are: anterior wall, which is made up of facial surface of maxilla. Posterior wall is made up of infratemporal surface of the maxilla. Roof is made up by floor of the orbit and floor is made up of the alveolar process of maxilla. Here you can see that floor is made up of the alveolar process of the maxilla, like this. Here you can see that floor of both maxillary sinus is formed by the upper alveolar arch or alveolar process of the maxilla, and roof is made up of this floor of the orbit. Anterior surface is formed by the facial surface of the maxilla, and posterior surface is formed by the infratemporal fossa. These are the coronal cut of maxillary sinus, in which you can see that right maxillary sinus is normal and which is air filled, but here in the left maxillary sinus you can see some of the pus collection which is suggestive of maxillary sinusitis. This is the transverse cut of the maxilla, in which you can see the triangular pyramidal shaped maxillary sinus, and the base is formed by the lateral wall of nose, and apex is formed by the apex is towards the zygomatic arch. Premolar and molar tooth are in close relation in the floor, and dental infection can cause sinusitis from this root. Here you can see that molar tooth are in close relation in the floor of the maxillary sinus. So whenever infection is present in premolar or molar tooth, it can spread into the maxillary sinus and can cause maxillary sinusitis. On removal of premolar or molar tooth, there can be formation of oroantral fistula. That is the oroantral fistula, that is a communication between maxillary sinus and oral cavity, can develop after removal of tooth. Maxillary sinus ostium usually opens in the ethmoidal infundibulum into the middle meatus. Sometimes an accessory ostium is also present in the 30% of population. So maxillary sinus will open into the middle meatus into the ethmoidal infundibulum. Frontal sinus. Frontal sinus, they are situated between the inner and outer table of the frontal bone. It is often loculated and varies in size. Two frontal sinuses are often asymmetric and intervening bony septum is thin. Sometimes this intervening bony septum may be absent also. Sometimes this frontal sinuses may be absent on one or both sides. Here you can see that frontal sinus is situated between the outer table and inner table of this frontal bone. They are the most superior sinuses and most anterior sinuses in nasal cavity. Here you can see the most anterior coronal cut of the nasal bone is also showing the full developed frontal sinuses on right and left side. Here you can see that their left side frontal sinus is divided into two parts by a thin intervening bone septum, where right frontal sinus is large. Anterior cranial fossa is situated over the roof of this frontal sinus and separated from the sinus by a compact bone of its posterior wall, means inner table of the frontal bone. Orbit lies over the floor of the sinus, and there is also compact bone which may rarely be deficient between the frontal sinus and orbit. Here frontal sinus are situated here, so orbit is situated in the floor of the frontal sinus. Skin and subcutaneous tissues of the forehead cover the anterior wall over the frontal sinus. Here there are some supratrochlear and supraorbital nerves and vessels which are running over the anterior wall of frontal sinus. Here you can see the coronal cut of the frontal sinus showing right and left frontal sinuses respectively in the frontal bone, and this is the transverse cut of the frontal sinus. Ethmoidal sinuses. Ethmoidal sinuses are thin walled air cavities in the lateral masses of ethmoid bone. They usually are multiple in number and varies from 3 to 18 in number. It occupies the space between the upper third of lateral nasal wall and medial wall of orbit. anterior ethmoidal cells open into the middle meatus and posterior ethmoidal cells open into the superior meatus and sphenoethmoidal recess. Ethmoidal sinus is situated between the medial wall of orbit here and between the upper third of the lateral nasal wall. They are multiple in number as shown in this diagram by different violet color shape filled cavities. According to the attachment of the middle turbinate over the lamina pepraceae, the ethmoidal air cells anterior to it are known as anterior ethmoidal cells, and posterior ethmoidal cells which are posterior to the attachment of middle turbinate to the lamina pepraceae, they are known as posterior ethmoidal cells. Anterior ethmoidal cells usually drain into the meatus, and posterior ethmoidal cells will drain into the superior meatus or sphenoethmoidal recess. Relation of the ethmoidal sinus is: superiorly, anterior cranial fossa is situated and frontal bone with sinus. Medially, there will be nasal cavity and nasal septum, and laterally there will be orbit. Here you can see multiple ethmoidal sinuses. Laterally is the lamina pepraceae and orbital cavity. Medially is the nasal septum and nasal cavity, and superiorly situated is the anterior cranial fossa and frontal sinus. Here you can see the radiographic diagram in transverse cut, in which you can see the violet color multiple air-filled ethmoidal sinuses. Sphenoid sinus, it occupies the body of the sphenoid and most posterior of sinus in the nasal cavity. There are two sphenoid sinuses, right and left. They are rarely symmetrical and separated by thin bony septum. Ostium is situated in the upper part of its anterior wall and drains into the sphenoethmoidal recess. The anterior wall of the sphenoid sinus, there is the ostium of the sphenoid sinus situated in the upper part, and it will drain into the sphenoethmoidal recess. Relation of the sphenoid sinus: anteriorly, roof is related to the optic tract, optic chiasma and frontal lobe, and lateral wall is related to the optic nerve and internal carotid artery. Here over anterior part of the sphenoid sinus, optic tract will go here, from here, and they will come the optic chiasma here. So here you can see the optic in close relation to the sphenoid sinus. So any disease which is affect sphenoid sinus can affect this optic tract and can affect the orbital movement by different involvement of nerves. We will see in later slides. Posterior relations: roof is related to the pituitary. Here you can see in the posterior part of the sphenoid sinus, over the roof of sphenoid sinus there is sella turcica and pituitary gland is situated. So whenever there is pituitary adenoma is present in a patient, we can remove pituitary adenoma from this extended face approach, and we can remove a sphenoid sinus approach. Lateral wall is related to the cavernous sinus, internal carotid artery, cranial nerve 3, 4, 6 and all divisions of the 5th cranial nerve. In the lateral of the sphenoid sinus, optic tract and both cavernous sinus are situated here. Over the lateral sella turcica here on the right and left. Cavernous sinus, they contain the cranial 3, 6 and all division of the 5th cranial nerve. So cavernous sinus, internal carotid artery, they are in, and these all cranial nerves are in close relation of the sphenoid sinus. Degree of pneumatization of sphenoid sinus varies and may enlarge up to the wings of the sphenoid and pterygoid. Mucosal membrane of the paranasal sinuses is continuous with the nasal cavity through the area, usually and less vascular to that of the cavity mucosa. This mucosa is said columnar epithelium with goblet cells secrete the mucus. Development of paranasal sinuses. Only two sinuses are present at the birth. The axillary sinus and ethmoidal sinuses are absent during on the first day of birth. They usually appear at the age of 4 years and years respectively. Gain the adult size in the teen years of patient. Maxillary sinus is usually which grows after that, and radiological evidence means it can be seen over the CT scan or X-ray paranasal sinuses at the age of 4 to 5 months after the birth, and usually adult size at the 15 years. Ethmoidal are usually present at birth, and they first radiological appears at the age of 1 year, and they usually attain adult size of 12 years. Lymphatics of sinuses form the capillary network in their lining mucosa, and they collect the lymphatics of the nasal cavity. Then they will drain into the lateral retropharyngeal and or jugulodigastric nodes. Physiology of the paranasal sinuses. Ventilation of the paranasal takes through the ostia of their respective sinuses. During inspiration, negative pressure develops in the sinuses and they become empty. And during the expiration, as we have seen in physiology of nasal cavity, eddy currents are formed due to the resistance provided by inferior turbinate, middle turbinate and different sinus ostium. This eddy current helps in ventilation of the sinuses. So air is present during the expiration in the sinuses and air is absent in the sinuses during inspiration of our body. So ventilation is parallel or is reverse from the lungs as they are emptied. So air, the sinuses are emptied during the inspiration and they free air the expiration. So the proper reverse mechanism from mucus in sinuses travels to the ostium in the spiral manner. With helps of the cilia, it will go into the nasal cavity from the ostia and reach up to the nasopharynx, and from nasopharynx it will go into the oropharynx and stomach. Mucus from the anterior group of sinuses, that is frontal sinus, maxilla sinus and anterior ethmoidal sinuses, will go along the lateral pharyngeal wall, and from the posterior group of sinuses it will go towards the posterior pharyngeal wall. So from the end of sinuses, as we have seen, they are maxillary sinus, frontal sinus and anterior ethmoidal sinus will go into the lateral pharyngeal wall, and in the sinuses superior function of the paranasal sinuses. Paranasal sinuses usually lighten the weight of the head by providing air into the nasal cavity. They support the immune defense of the nasal cavity by ciliary mechanism. They help in humidification and warming of the inspired air. They also increase the resonance of the voice, and they act as a thermal insulator to protect the delicate structures in the orbit and cranium from the various intranasal temperature and also during the traumatic event of a patient. So whenever there is trauma due to road traffic accident or assault, they act as a insulator to protect the delicate structure in the orbit and cranium. So this is all about anatomy and physiology of paranasal sinuses.